What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and today we're switching things up, okay? So I know I have started this Auctions of the Week video series, and I have been having a ton of fun with it, and I absolutely love the content. I think the lessons that we take away from this and the things that we learn are absolutely out of this world, but I have been doing it on Saturday, and I think everybody's out enjoying life, everybody's out having fun on Saturdays, not watching YouTube, and so it doesn't get a ton of views. So when you really enjoy the content and you're not getting the results that you want, what do? You change things up, and that's what I'm going to be doing now. So we're going to launch this video on Thursday, and hopefully we will get a couple more people to tune in because I think this video is really cool and I think it's got some awesome content in it, and I just enjoy putting it together, so I am not going to stop doing it. And the other thing that I hope too is instead of breaking it down into individual segments that I did, right? I did individual English cards, I did a video on Japanese, I did a video on sealed product. I'm going to put it all into one video. That way everybody has a little bit of something in here. And again, when I was doing it like that, it meant that we would go a whole month until we looked at English cards again. We would go a whole month until we looked at Japanese cards again, right? Because I did 4 different series, so that was 4 weeks in between, and there's just too much exciting sales going on for us to wait that long. So with that out of the way, this is the new approach, and I'm going to tell you right now, this video, because we combine all of it, is just chock full of so much awesomeness, huge sales, rare cards, just the coolest of the cool, so I'm excited to get that in front of you today. Now, since I'm slamming it all together, guess what? We're going to see some really cool foreign cards. We're going to be looking at some base set, first edition Charizards from France and from Germany, which is really cool. I love seeing how, global Pokemon is, and the prices that go along with us just show you that Pokemon collecting mania really is worldwide. There's some really, really rare Japanese promos on here. They aren't even graded. These are raw Japanese promos that have gone for huge, huge dollar amounts. Guess what? There's also the sale of the Holy Grail, or maybe not, but there are some illustration or some Pikachu illustrator cards on here that sold at auction recently, and we're going to do a little deep dive into them at the very beginning. And then, of course, we've got some Gold Stars and we've got some Charizards. We have all kinds of cool stuff that we're going to look at, and as you can tell, I get really fired up about this content. So with all of that being said, if you want to get some of this every single week moving forward, hit that subscribe button. We're going to do it week in and week out and have a ton of fun along the way. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you more than I can say, and those 3 small things go a long way in helping me out. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. And as I said, the Holy Grail of the Pokemon space is this Pikachu illustrator card, and this one sold at auction on eBay. It sold for only $15,000, and as you can imagine why, this isn't authenticated by anybody. It's not in any kind of SGC, CGC, or PSA slab or anything. Matter of fact, love the call out right here on the 90s era screw down case. I remember having all of my cards in these things way, way back in the day, but it did sell for $15,000, right? And there was 32 bids connected to it, so there was some degree of people gambling a bit, right? Like, hey, if this is authentic, then guess what? Buying this for $15,000 is an absolute steal. Now, this is so incredibly rare. There's only been 45 ever sent to get graded at PSA. This is the card that, you've seen YouTube videos about people paying $4 million for this card. This is just it. Now, I will say this, the person who sold this has a good seller rating. They have over 619 reviews, all of them positive, 100% positive rating. So it's not like this was some fly-by-the-night person just created an eBay account to sell this card. This did come from a reputable seller. However, that doesn't mean the card's authentic, right? Reputable people sometimes don't understand or don't know, and they put it up for auction and people buy it, so we shall see. But one of the things that jumped out to me was if you look down here at this part of the card, and it's really hard to see because this isn't the best image, but there is some writing that you'll find on this illustrator card here universally. So we'll look at a couple of the graded ones, right? You'll see this one right here. You can see the name of the artist down there, and you can see a symbol there on the right hand side. This is a PSA 9 version, and then on this one as well, this PSA 7 version, it is pretty pronounced. Now, I will say this, look, this card is the image isn't great, the quality's not there, so these words could very well be on there. As you see that they are very well hidden and camouflaged into the gray of the bottom of the card. And hey, listen, I don't know. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's fake. All I'm saying is it is very newsworthy to see that a card that was in question sold for $15,000 and had 32 bids on it. But what's even more fascinating to me, and this is really, really interesting, is there was another Pikachu illustrator card that sold over the same period of time, and it was quote unquote graded. So this one was actually sent to CGC. This is a Pikachu illustrator card right here. And it came back QA, which is questionable authenticity. So I went straight to the CGC website to figure out what that means. And basically what that means is they don't believe the card is real, but the data that they have done, the research that they have done is inconclusive. So they give it a questionable authentic tag, which I think is fascinating. And even though it was deemed as questionably authentic, it's still sold for over $5,551, which is insane to think about this card. You know, if you read actually what it says, they don't believe it is real, but they can't definitively prove that it's not, and it's got this QA grade, and it's still sold for $5,500. That just goes to show you how insane people are when it comes to trying to buy this card, and just how valuable and what a cool piece of Pokemon history it is. Really impressive card, really cool couple sales right here, and it's certainly noteworthy, and I was glad I could kick the video off with that. Now, the very next one that we're going to talk about right here is, as I said, we're looking at languages outside of English, outside of Japanese. So here we have a German first edition Charizard holo card right here in a PSA 10 gem mint holder, and it's sold for $13,499 at a buy it now. I said it in a video not long ago, when we think about outside of English, outside of Japanese, I see some of the biggest sale prices coming from cards in the German language. So obviously people there are very, very excited about Pokemon, which makes me feel all kinds of good. So again, $13,499 for this one. It is a Pop 56, and there has been 1,903 of these sent to PSA for grading. That is not a small number by any stretch of the imagination, so really cool to see this. The other one that I thought was awesome was this French same thing, 1999 base set, first edition Charizard. This was a CGC 10 pristine, okay? So we're talking about the highest grade that CGC offers, and this one sold for $10,600. Now, it was at auction, and there were 38 bids, so still over $10,000 for this CGC pristine from the first edition base set in French, which is really cool. Now, trying to do like-for-like comparisons, because we're going to look at some more cards here in a minute, I went to the PSA Pop report. So there's only 32 of these in a PSA 10 gem mint holder, and only 731 of them have been sent to be graded, right? So really almost a third of the number of ones that have been sent to be graded in French versus German. So obviously more come through on the German side of things. The French still obviously enough demand, a lot of excitement, because over $10,000 and 38 bids just shows a lot of excitement around this card. Really, really cool to see, and one of the things I love most, and one of the reasons I'm most bullish about Pokemon, is the globalization of this, how it continues to grow and expand in new languages and new countries, and it is just so incredibly popular. One of the things we should all be very excited about. Now, as I said, we're going to look at some other ones, and I thought these were really cool to call out. So we really have 3 different variants of that 1999 base set Charizard. So we have the first edition in a PSA 9 holder up there. You don't see PSA 9 sell very often, and when they do, they go for a ton of money. Then on the right, you see a shadowless CGC Gem Mint 10. What a stunner of a card. Oh my gosh, one of my Grail cards is a shadowless Charizard in a PSA 8. I don't think I'll ever have the money for a 9 or a 10, but a PSA 8 is a realistic goal for me further in the future. And then you have the base set Unlimited down there in a PSA 10 holder that sold as well. So the PSA 9 sold for $27,150, and you know I do an index fund, or whatever you want to call it, for Pokemon cards, and this card is on the Charizard Ultimate list. And that price is actually higher than we've seen recently. So that price is on the rise a little bit. And again, there's a population of 720 for that first edition PSA 9 Charizard card. Now, there's 124 PSA 10s, and there has been 4,323 of them sent in for grading. Remember, on the previous slide, we looked at the first edition base set Charizard PSA 10 from Germany. And that one had almost 2,000 that had been sent. So over twice as many English cards have been sent in versus German, which totally makes sense when you think about the collecting base. Now, that Charizard, the unlimited one right there, it sold for $12,500 as a buy it now. Pop 481, and over 60,500 from the unlimited set have been sent into PSA for grading. So we go from 4,300 of first edition to over 60,000 of the unlimited. Then of course, when you look at the shadowless right there, that CGC 10 Gem Mint sold for $8,500 with 52 bids. I think that's an incredible price to get. I think that is a great, for the buyer, I think that's a very approachable price point right there, and I think they got a pretty good deal at it. And then when you look at the PSA populations, again, there's only 58 PSA 10s of that shadowless Zard, and there's 9,223 that have been graded. So when you look at the different variants of that 1999 base set, obviously the Charizard's the biggest and the baddest of them all, right? Obviously, this is the one that everybody's trying to get graded in high demand. So you see that there has been 4,300 of the first edition sent through, 9,200 of the shadowless, and then 60,500 of the unlimited. That just goes to give you an overall guesstimate. All it is a guesstimate of the total print runs, right? There was probably twice as many shadowless as there was of the first edition, and there was probably 6 times more unlimited than there was of the shadowless printed. So that, I thought this was a really cool takeaway, and it was awesome to look at how these compare to other languages and just how these different variants of 1999 base sets stacked up. Next one's right here. We're looking at one of the coolest Japanese promos in a while. So I think they started in 2003, but Japanese, over in Japan, they did this play promo series where you could actually participate in tournaments and you would be assigned points and you would have this barcode that you could scan and you could send in. And as you accumulated points, you were able to get different prizes. Well, these two cards right here were the top and second to the top from prize level. So the Umbreon was at the very, very top. 70,000 points was the pinnacle. That was the top of the mountain. If you earned 70,000 points through the playing, through participating in these different events, then guess what? You were awarded this, okay? That card went for $14,900, ungraded, totally raw, with 84 bids. And again, remember what I said about that illustrator card earlier on. I said there's only been 45 graded at PSA. Well, guess what? This card doesn't have that many more. There's only been 51 of these sent to PSA for grading versus 45 of the Pikachu illustrator. That just gives you a small sample size of how rare this card is, okay? And then you got the Espeon right there. Well, guess what? That was the tier below the Umbreon, so that was for 40,000 points, and guess what? That one sold for $10,900. Again, another auction. It was the same seller. This person had a very good day selling both of these cards. It had 76 bids, and again, as one would expect, a few more were submitted, but not a lot more have been submitted to PSA. Only 72 of them have been submitted to PSA, so super, super rare cards, and it is always amazing to me to see raw cards like this go for the 5 figures. It is just incredible to see it, and again, just makes me feel really good. I love these Japanese promos. They're so special, so unique, and so cool. We don't have anything like it in the English space, which I collect, and I think it's a really cool part of the Pokemon history. The next ones we're looking at right here, we've seen this the last couple iterations of the video that I did, where when one of these big cards, I would certainly call this a Grail card, right? When one of these comes up for sale, it's not uncommon for another one from another seller, and sometimes 2 or 3 from other sellers, to come up for sale. And this is exactly what we saw right here. So we've got the Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny First Edition. Both of these are in PSA 10 Gem Mint holders. And then you have the red one right there. And then I call the other one the Mine's Better, because if you read through the description, the person said in the title, read the description, and they listed why their PSA 10 was better than every other PSA 10 on the market, and I just thought it was a really cool takeaway. So the red one actually sold for more, sold for $12,650, and then the Mine's Better version sold for $11,000. Now, the overall population for these is 260, and a very small number, only a little over 1,000 of these in total have been sent into PSA for grading. So really, really low population base. Obviously, only 260 of that 1,000 have ended up in PSA 10 Gem Mint holders, and the price is there to reflect that, with both of these selling for over $11,000, with the top one going for $12,650. Awesome to see these cards. Certainly things that dreams are made of, at least in my world. Next one's right here. Again, speaking of dreams are made of, obviously I'm a big Pikachu fan. We had 2 Gold Star Pikachus that sold, and matter of fact, I thought it was an error. I thought the listing was just doubled up for whatever reason, but then I looked at the cert numbers, and guess what? These are 2 different cards, but they are sequentially numbered in cert. So some very lucky soul out there sent both of these through. They were graded back to back, and both of them got PSA 10s. Just an absolute stunner of a submission right here. Both of them sold for the same price. Both of them sold for $6,500 each, and a very small population. There's only 110 of them in existence, and again, only 1,323 total have been sent in for grading. So really exciting to see these cards. I mean, these things are really, really amazing. But what was really interesting to me beyond that was when we get to the Rayquaza card from the EX Deoxys series, this Gold Star. The Gold Star, this was a PSA 9, and just because it is so rare, because the population is so small, because this card is so incredibly popular, even though it was a PSA 9, it sold for $1,200 more than those Pikachu PSA 10s. It sold at a buy it now for $7,800. And again, total population of 226, and the PSA 10 pop for that card is a very small 48. So super, super rare. So it doesn't matter that there's 226 of these in PSA 9s. The odds of finding a PSA 10 out there, because there's only 48 in the world, are so incredibly low. These 9s still go settle for a huge premium. Really impressive to see at $7,800. Next ones right here, and these are the final ones from the video. This video is a little bit longer because I'm consolidating everything, but as we have seen over the last couple weeks, when we have started that new series where we talk about movers and shakers on the TCG space, right? TCGPlayer sends me all of this information and they say, hey, listen, these are the cards that are starting to get some momentum. We have seen 3 weeks running in a row where the 1999 base set, some of the origin of the Pokemon collecting space, have started to see a lot of traction. And here are 3 examples of some of the best of that era. You have the Gyarados Holo right there in a PSA 10. That one went at auction and it sold for almost $10,000. $9,900 with 53 bids. It has a population of only 89, and there's been almost 2,000 of them sent in for grading. So 89 in a PSA 10, sub 100, obviously super rare. Obviously, everybody loves the 1999 first edition base set. We talked about how rare it is earlier in this video compared to Shadowless, compared to Unlimited. So almost $10,000 for that card is a fantastic price point. Then you got the Zapdos card right there, and I love Zapdos. Zapdos has quickly climbed up the rankings in my favorite Pokemon list, and that PSA 10 right there sold at a buy it now for $6,000, $5,999, and it went super quick. It was not on eBay for very long before somebody snapped it up, okay? And the population for that card is a little bigger than the Gyarados, but not by much. It's at 133 pop in a PSA 10 holder, and a total of almost 2,200 have been sent through for grading. And then, not to be outdone, we got CGC, another Gem Mint CGC 10. You have the Alakazam Holo right there, and that went to auction and 58 bids, and it sold for $7,000. Another one with a sub 100 overall population at PSA. There's only 92 in PSA 10 holders. Oh, right at 2,000 have been sent for grading. So I love seeing the base set outside of the Charizard. Charizard's always going to do what Charizard's going to do, right? But I love seeing some of these non-Charizard cards putting up big numbers and the demand for it being out there, and especially hearing how TCGPlayer itself is saying, hey, listen, people are starting to get interested in it a little bit more. We're going to talk about it later on in this week. Matter of fact, one of the videos that I have coming out, we're going to over-index on that a little bit, so I won't spoil all of my thoughts, but it is a really interesting space to be in, and it's a very exciting time because a lot of these Origin cards are still very approachable, and I do think that further down the road, these cards will appreciate in value. How much, I don't know, but I will say it's hard to go wrong with anything first edition and anything from the origin of Pokemon. So with all that out of the way, let me know what you think about the new content. Let me know what you think about the new process and how we roll it out. I'm a big fan. I think it's a ton of fun, but it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think because I do this for you. I am happy to do this information, just keep it to myself, but I think it's valuable, so I love sharing it with you. So if you like the content, hit the subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much. I appreciate you more than I can possibly say, and you all have an epic one. See you, everybody. Bye.